Hi, my friends. It's Miss Joanne again. Today we are going to read one of my favorite stories. It is called The Oak Inside the Acorn. There it is. All right, here we go. The acorn looked at the world around him. Green hills rolled their backs in the distance. Bright daisies bloomed below him. Above him, a family of puffy white clouds floated through the blue sky. The world looks so big, the little acorn said to his mother. I'm just glad I'll be right here with you. Do you see him right there? Look at that little acorn. His mother was a tall, beautiful oak. I'm glad too, my little acorn. It's good for you to be here with me now. But when the time comes, you go into the world and you'll be fine. But I'll be afraid, said little acorn. Mother oak hugged little acorn in her strong branches. Within you is a great oak. Little acorn, just be the tree God made you to be. The thought of letting go and leaving the safety of his mother's branches was scary to little acorn. So he tried not to think about it. But deep down inside, he knew the time was coming. One by one, his brothers and sisters had been letting go and saying goodbye. They were afraid too, but their mother had assured them that the same words, within you is a great oak. Just be the tree God made you to be. Each time he heard this, little acorn would look at himself and say, an oak in me? He was so small, it was hard for him to believe that ever could be. See, there he is. He's hanging on still. The time to let go came sooner than a little acorn wanted. It started with a bump. He was resting one summer afternoon, thankful for the coolness and the shadow of the leaves, when, thud, the tree shook. His mother's branches trembled, and little acorn began to swing back and forth and back and forth. A farmer's pickup had accidentally bumped into the trunk. Little acorn had swung before, stirred by the wind, but this bump was harder than he's ever felt before. He tried to hang on. He's pressed his thin stem into the branch as hard as he could, but it didn't work. He was an heavier acorn since he was much older now, and the stem began to pull away from the branch. Uh-oh, Mom. It's okay, little acorn, Mother Oak said. You can't hang on forever. It's time. You've got to go. Down he fell, flipping over and over, softly slipping through the leaves until he bounced on something hard. He landed in the back of the pickup truck. The truck vibrated and began, my dog's listening to the story too, and began to drive away. It's okay, little acorn, Mom called out. Within you is a great oak. Just be the tree God wants you to be. See, there's the red pickup truck that bumped into it, and he's falling. As the truck bounced, so did the acorn. Ouch, he said. This is a rough ride. It gets better, he heard a voice say, rolling over. Little acorn looked up at the young tree. Who are you? I'm a new little orange tree on my way to be planted. What do orange trees do? Asked Acorn. By now the road was a little bit smoother. We grow oranges. Oh, answered Acorn. I didn't know what an orange was, but I thought I'd ask anyway. Wow, exclaimed the orange tree. Who was tall enough to see out the truck? What is it? Trees, lots of trees, orange trees everywhere in the orange grove. So this is the new friend that he made right there. It's an orange tree. Okay, little orange tree, it's time for you to be planted, the farmer said, as he lowered the truck tailgate and climbed into the back of the truck. The acorn rolled away just in time to avoid the farmer's foot. The farmer took the tree and was gone for a long time. Little acorn stared at the sky as it began to get dark. He missed his mom and her strong branches. This would be his first night away from her. The tailgate of the truck banged open and the farmer jumped in. A quick sweep, he said, and I'm heading home. Little acorn had never seen a broom before. He barely saw this one when all of a sudden he got swept away. There he is, and there's the broom sweeping him up. I wondered what happened to you, said Orange Tree. Little Acorn was happy to hear a familiar voice. This is your new home." "Yes, it is," said the orange tree, "and it looks like it's your new home, too." Little Acorn had one more question. "Orange tree, what do I do next?" Orange tree's voice was very sleepy. "Just settle in, little friend, and rest. God will make you grow." So the little acorn did just that. He rested that night. The next day, and the next week, and the next month. There in the soft soil surrounded by orange tree, he sank deeper and deeper into the ground, and he slept for a long, long time. See, look, he rolled right by his friend the orange tree. That's nice they were together, right? When little Acorn woke up, he didn't know where he was. He stretched upward, and when he did, he kept stretching higher and higher until he popped out of the dark dirt into the sunlight. "Well, look who's awake," said Orange Tree. Little Acorn looked around. "Hello, Orange Tree. Have I been sleeping very long?" "Long enough to become a small tree." Little Acorn looked down. "I've changed. I'm no longer a round shell." "You're growing up," said Orange Tree. "Now you're a little oak." Little Oak straightened himself and remembered his mother's words. "Within you is a great oak." Maybe she was right. So he stood a little bit taller. There's little Acorn. Look, he's a little oak now. And his friend Orange Tree. But even at his tallest, he was much smaller than the trees around him. Their bushy branches grew greener and greener. Then one day, Orange Tree called out to his friend, "Hey, little oak, look, my first orange." The Orange Tree spoke up. "He'll have many more. Don't worry about that." "So will I," announced little Oak. The trees in the grove started laughing. They didn't mean to hurt his feelings, but they did. "You'll never have oranges, little Oak." Little Oak straightened his branches and pushed as hard as he could, but no oranges popped out. Not that day, nor the next, nor the next. See, his friend Orange Tree has an orange, and there's little Oak. Look how big he's getting. When the farmer came to collect the fruit, little Oak was worried. He didn't have any to give. "Well, hello, little Oak," said the farmer. "How did you get here?" The farmer walked away, and when he returned, he had a big shovel. "I know just where to place you." He lifted the new little oak out of the ground. "Bye-bye, my friend." Look, he's getting dug up by the farmer. He's going to take care of him now. The farmer didn't take little Oak too far away. He carried him out of the grove to a big white house. The farmer chose a beautiful spot in the backyard overlooking the orange grove. "Let's see how you do here." He dug a deep hole and set the little oak inside, and he placed dirt around him and pressed tightly. See, he replanted him, and there's his house right there. See, there's Oak. Little Oak loved his new home. He was stretching his roots into the dirt when he heard, "Hi, I'm Pink Petunia." "Who are you?" Little Oak looked at the bright flower near the house. He started to answer, but Pink Petunia didn't give him time. "Roses is next to the house." "Hi there," chipped Rosie. "Daisy's here too." "That's me," said the white and yellow flower. "Hello, little tree." Pink Petunia continued, "We are soft and we smell sweet. What about you?" Little Oak didn't know how to answer. He knew he had no oranges. "Do you grow flowers?" said Pink Petunia. Little Oak never remembered seeing flowers on his mom's tree. "Maybe I could. Maybe that's what I'm meant to do," said Little Oak. He tried and he tried as hard as he could, but no flowers grew. Pink Petunia could, so could Rosie and Daisy, but Little Oak couldn't. There's his new friends, Pink Petunia, Daisy, Rosie, and there's Little Oak. Still trying to figure out what he's supposed to do. Finally, Little Oak decided to rest. His branches were tired and drooping. His leaves were dropping. Even the flowers were sleepy. "We're going to rest now, Little Oak," said the flowers. And they did. The sky turned gray and the days shortened, and it got kind of chilly outside. But then he remembered his mom's words. "Within you is a great oak. Just be the tree God wants you to be." When the sun came back and warmed the branches, Little Oak woke up. Only he wasn't so little anymore. Now he could see even further. He had grown taller and wider. The winds didn't bend him as much, and his branches were big and strong. He was becoming a big oak. Many years passed, and each year he grew bigger and bigger and wider and wider. Look how big he is now. Look at that. And look, every year, here's one. Look at him. There he is again. Look at him there. And look how big he is here. Look at the house and him. He's becoming that great oak. Now, Orange Tree and Flowers called him Big Oak. He spread his big branches and looked all around. Orange Tree was taller too, but not as tall as Big Oak. He was the tallest. He was taller than any of his friends around him. And they were wide, but not as wide as Big Oak. He was the tallest and the widest, but he still wondered what he was supposed to do. He couldn't grow oranges. He couldn't grow flowers. He just grew big, and he didn't know why. See, there's the picture. See, my puppy wanted to see the picture again. Big Oak was just awakening from a long winter's nap. His leaves had tiny buds when a young farmer brought 2 ropes over to him and tied them to one of his big, strong branches. Close by was a little girl. Rosie was puzzled. "What is that for, Big Oak?" "I don't know," said Big Oak. "Can I do it, Daddy? Can I swing? Can I swing?" "Go ahead," said the man, and the little girl with bright blue eyes and hair the color of Daisy's flowers sat on the swing. Big Oak felt a tug, but barely. He was so strong, and the little girl was so small. With her daddy's help, she swung back and forth and back and forth. Look, Big Oak is holding a swing for the little girl. By the time the sun was hot and the flowers were plenty, she could swing alone, kicking her feet higher and higher. Excuse me a second. Puppy was playing. Until she could see the roof of her house and then back and forth. Big Oak loved the sound of the little girl's laughter and her footsteps when she ran toward him. When she swung, he stood strong. Each year she got taller, and so did he. Each year they both got stronger. And when the gray skies and cold days came, they both sat silently together. See, so there she is, getting bigger and swinging as high as her roof. And look, here, she's climbing in the tree, and here they're resting together. One day, little girl came back to Big Oak with a little boy. Though neither was too little, they sat on his branches and they talked. Big Oak held them both, and when they carved their names in his trunk, he didn't mind. Little boy pushed the swing, little girl laughed, and Big Oak protected them from the sudden rain. In time, little girl didn't swing so much, and when she climbed into the tree house, she sat more and played less. Little girl was becoming a big girl. See? And that's her friend. Look at that. Big Girl now stood as tall as Big Oak's lowest branches, and one day Rosie Rose said to Big Oak, "She's growing up, Big Oak. She'll soon leave." He didn't answer because he didn't understand. Big Girl spent many blue sky days sitting on the ground, leaning back against the Big Oak's trunk, watching the clouds. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do," said the girl, "and it's hard to let go. And how can I know who I am?" Big Oak wanted to talk to the big girl so bad. He knew just what to say. He would say, "Within you is a great girl. Just be the person God made you to be." "Orange trees grow oranges," he would say. "Flower plants grow flowers. And oaks, well, they just grow tall enough for swings and strong enough for swinging and big enough to hold little girls until they become big girls." He wanted to, but he couldn't say the words. See his friend sitting with him? One day, Big Girl was so sad. The little girl who used to giggle in the big oak shade just sat silently, and tears started falling down her cheek. "It's hard to let go," she said. Big Oak was listening, and he had an idea. He looked down the branch and saw a little acorn. "I have a special job for you," Big Oak said to Acorn. See, little girl, she's a little sad today, but Big Oak is going to help her. The next time the wind blew his branches, Big Oak let the branch shake more than the others. The little acorn popped loose and landed right in the big girl's lap. The big girl picked it up and started to toss it away, but then she stopped. She held the little acorn in her hand and stared at it. She turned and looked up at the big oak. "Were you ever this small?" she said to the big oak. "Of course you were. And you grew into this great oak. And you just started out as this little acorn. And you did this to become what God made you to be." She looked again at the acorn, and then she looked back at Big Oak. Her eyes brightened. "Do you suppose that that's what God wants me to do?" Big Oak wanted to shout, "Yes, that's it. Of course he does. Now it's time for you to let go and become the person God made you to be." See, she caught the acorn. The big girl smiled, placed the acorn in her pocket, and began walking away. But after a few steps, she stopped and turned. She looked at the swing, the tree house, and she looked at Big Oak. She walked over to him, placed her hand on his trunk. Without a word, she said goodbye. And without a word, Big Oak did the same. See? She's much happier now. It was hard for little Acorn to believe he would ever be a big, strong oak tree. But as time passed, he did, and he grew into a beautiful big oak tree. Then he found out that his strong branches were just right for what he needed to do. You see, God has a special purpose for you too. Just like Mother Oak told little Acorn, just to be the tree God wants you to be. You need to have hope in your Lord that He will renew your strength so you can become the person God wants you to be. Bye, my friends. Have a great week this week. And always know that God is in your heart and watching over you.